Okay, so I'm. Hello, where is my display unit? Ah, there it is. So I'm making noodles, and I just want to talk about stuff. It all started back like so many years ago, and I ended up making something called Number Pyramid. So what is it? Well, basically, let me just remove myself from the equation. Ha 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 ha. Um, I ended up doing this little thing where I would have some basic idea of you think of the numbers as blocks. So, for example, 1 and 2 makes 3. Move the 3 over on top of the 1 and the 2. Over here, I show how this number is a sum of those two numbers. This is a sum of those two numbers, and so on. So every two numbers that it still exist next to each other. So like 3 is no longer there, so you have to work with 4 and 5. Those are the next numbers that are on the first line. So you combine them and you make 9, obviously. But then you have two numbers on this line, so you have to combine them, and you end up with 12. So technically you can see it, and then it starts to break down when I reach 31, because 31 is made out of 13 and 18, but it's also made by 16 and 15. So I write it down as 0, and that's the improper notation, but it's hard because you have to follow these basic rules of pretending numbers are blocks and stuff. So I ended up going in this basic little thing, and I looked at it. I was like, okay, this is neat. What about it? And I don't know. I just worked on it for a bit. I didn't super. I don't know how much salt is. You're supposed to put salt in the water or whatever. I don't know. I think it needs more water. I don't know. Gonna let it go back to a boil. So the thing about the number pyramid, and the thing that got me was eventually eventually I ended up getting into alternative realities. Now, alternate realities stuff happened in the first set of this document. So let me just shrink myself. So what happens is the numbers that were moved, so for example, the 3 was moved and the 9 was moved, so next to the 9 position, I've added those two numbers. So obviously we already created 9 and 3 together to make something on the first level over there, but here it's not because it isn't because they were removed. Um, you'll see. So then I ended up with 12 and 13 being 25. Now 12 and 13 aren't what we use to make 25. Instead, we end up using 11 and 14 because those numbers exist and they're still on that same level. So then there are some numbers that do exist, and then some numbers that exist parallel, like independent, and then came by alternative means. And I think all of these different like colors and um, references to some kind of, I forget, alternate reality or something. But then I just, I only went so far into this rabbit hole, but I was like, okay, well, we have these other numbers here, right? And then them combined with each other made their own set of negative numbers, which, if something, I forget what I did, but I basically combined the positive and negative space, something or another, and we end up with some of the numbers that are just real numbers, some of them that are, or some of them that are only based off of the regular reality, and then you got this other alternative number. I don't remember how I came to this conclusion. I'm far beyond it at this point. This is an N behind numbers. I was like, wait, why is there an N there? I don't remember. But it's like numbers that were, at some point I had a very big, like my brain was just going about it. What? Why is it not? Why is it like vibrating or something? Anyway. Not quite boiling yet. The more water needed more time to get boiling. And then I don't know how to cook these, but I'm cooking these. These look nice. 2 to 3 minutes, or until they float. Interesting. And whatever, I don't know. I'm like, does this have a thing that I can just... Is it easy to open this, or what? So anyway, like I have this feeling like there's some tab or whatever that I can just... How did I get these? Because they look like they were cut down the middle, so I must have bought 2 of them. But I only have 1 of them. Is the other one in the freezer? When did I get these? Did I get them from the... I might have gotten them from the food bank. I don't remember. So anyway, I'm eating them. I'm just gonna probably use scissors or whatever, I don't know. Boiling. Also add some peas. The peas will make them a little bit... I'll have to get it up to boil again. Also, the peas won't take long, but the noodles won't take long either. Anyway. There was some point when I made a eureka moment where there was something about antimatter. And where some things collided, and then when they separated, then it was more... It was like... You ever get one of those containers and you just want to rip it apart because you think you can, and then it's like, fuck, you just have scissors. Use scissors. Anyway. So I recently, separate topic, I recently made a video talking about infinite energy, which was discovered to be, okay, my previous video, I was tired when I made that video. I was recently woke up or whatever. Or I've been up for a bit. I'm gonna have to get these back to boiling. And the thing is, that infinite energy thing, I'm gonna say whether or not I believe it's possible, and it's like, yes, all of the theories still hold. You still have the ability to have a machine that uses the springs, and then you're able to have a certain amount of weight be able to be lifted up. And then if you have a few of those, then once they're up, then they get to be, like, depending on how high that mechanism was and whatever, and what it takes to reset that mechanism. Yeah, so you have this lifting force, but then you're able to make another set that has the combined weight of the other two machines, and that was able to, like, pull down. In my head, the math worked out that you were able to pull down one of the machines, and then the other two would they could be reset a little bit easier with less force, so it's simpler and stuff. They all are floating already. I don't understand. Like, I didn't take 3 minutes to do that. And they're not boiling yet, which is weird. Also, I need to put seasoning in them. I like Tai Tai. It's my go-to. What? It's called Tai Tai. Just a bit of that. I also have recently tried... Here's a weird thing. I tried this on bacon, and it was good. I don't know. That combined with my science logic definitely makes it more clear that I'm probably insane. However, the problem is, the one who made the video was Veritasium, and we all know them to be sometimes going a bit into the realm of fanaticism. That's not very good. And he's got a kid, so that's also... But, I mean, he doesn't really, but there's some things where it's like, wow, it took a bet to be like, does this thing go faster than the wind? And the problem is, any good scientist would tell you it would go faster than the wind. It's using two forms of power. Wind power, and then as the wind is providing some amount of push, the momentum of the car itself against the road is another amount of push. Okay, now I can turn it down. Be there for like 3 minutes and I'll be done. So yeah, there was a $10,000 bet to say it wouldn't go faster than the wind. And I'm like, that's not a bet I would take. I know it does. The thing that I was sure of was the ratio of the speed versus your car's speed can't be over 2. Something like that. Like, you can't go twice as fast as the wind, for some reason. And I thought of that because of inefficiencies and whatever else. But the point is, you're able to go faster than the wind, which means you're also able to go faster than the speed of light. If you're using light, if you can possibly use light and some kind of means of it as propeller type, not propeller, but like, a propeller is really just an attractive force in the form of a propeller. It doesn't always have to be pushing stuff back. It can be pulling stuff towards you. So the thing about being able to go through space, and I say this every time, again, use the vortex engine. But like, when you have that engine, then you have the ability to pull everything towards you, through you, and then out the other side, which also gives you, suppose, boost that way. But here's the real kicker. Don't push it out behind you fully. Capture it again this is why it's a vortex engine. You use the long arm of the spiral, right? So that the momentum is pushing to the sides, but even that momentum that's pushing to the sides is helping you move forward. There's ways of doing that. And that's what this silly guy who was like, I'm going to put some microwaves or something, and the microwave pressure is going to move something just by the energy and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem was the design of that machine. Yeah, it's not a Kubier. It's this other guy. I freaking don't. The problem is that I freaking got him into oblivion. I don't know what it is. But there was some microwave drive or something like that. And the way that they did it was they bounced the energy directly off one side, and then they try to deflect it on the other side. So the amount of force applied on the other side is less felt than the full force of what you felt on that side, and the total is the net positive. This is actually true. The problem was the implementation. You wouldn't need to have a force object, right? I should say a solid cone that goes on the other side. What you need is a dampener. Something that's able to take the thing that applied force on one side, but on this side, it just hits something that, like, doesn't take any force at all, like a gel or light crystal. Like, you're able to have it so that the energy that you put towards the one side, and it all goes in one direction and is able to push it, right? But then on the other side, if you have a dampener to be on the receiving end, then it's not gonna have... I think my noodles are ready. It's not gonna have as much of a problem as you usually would. So here's the thing that they did wrong. Trying to make this engine, his design was flawed because he had a physical barrier type, like just a structure of a cone that was going to take the reflective waves and then give back. So any amount of cone type stuff, or the amount of whatever that you do, you want to make it so that, like, all the energy you're sending forward is going to hit straight on, right? That's fine. You can do that, and that's easy. And then the other thing, I think my noodles are done, is that you have noodles and the peas are both done. And all I need to do is add the meat to it. I think if I add the meat, like, before I put the meat in and then put the soup around it, it'll be easier to, I need to cut the meat in half. I'm not using all of it. So anyway, so I came to this conclusion that you'd need like some kind of either a dampener or a specific redirection thing. No! This very piece of meat was got on the floor, and the floor is disgusting, and I don't like it. However, thankfully I got on the outside. I'm able to see all the stuff that landed on it, and I'm gonna just eat it anyway. There's no such thing as a 5-second rule. You're either taking it as it is, definitely taking something off the floor, or it's not. Like, if you have gum or whatever else, you just put that shit anywhere, and that's gonna, like, right? Like, the thing about spills is that they made some kind of paper that you just slide underneath, and it, like, viscosity pulls it onto the other surface somehow, as if you're pulling the rug out from under it, but it was never underneath it. It was, like, pushed under with a momentum and direction that all of the positions of the liquid, whatever it was, end up on this stuff, and it's like, it's neat. That's freaking cool. Ew! I stepped in some squishy meat. There was a little bit of meat on the floor still. Right, that'll do. That's a lot. I'm glad I did it before the power maybe went off and whatever. Anyway, what does any of this have to do with number theory and pyramid and whatever? I don't know. I don't know really. That's the point. You don't have to always be on the same topic when it comes to science. I love peaches. Oh, but I'm gonna need somewhere to put my... I don't have anywhere to put the pot. Ah, that's actually nerve-wracking. A little bit. Hold on. The jar fit down? Yeah. I'll put the jar of peaches in the crisper. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's fine. And then we have this bowl of very basic soup. Now the thing about this soup, it's not great. Doesn't have any bouillon in it. Let's drop some. I should have put that into the entire thing, so I will. But it's like it didn't cook into it and whatever. Oh god, that's tasty. I need a thing of bouillon eventually. Anyway, the thing about the number pyramid, right? The thing that got me going about it, at first, it was just a basic little kids game. Ow. I need a rag for this bowl. It's super hot immediately. So it's a basic kids game where you have blocks and whatever. Um, and each block represents just only has one number on it. And you only have one of each number block. So you can't expect to reuse any of them. So the basic thing, that's why it all works that way. Sitting on a tablet. Oh, there's all sorts of things over here. Oh, that's not good. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Raining. I need to check the window I have open. Seems like it's not too blowy, but it's definitely like more rainy than it was. A little drizzly. Anyway, it does feel, it's so nice having some cold, but this place is so freaking hot. It keeps heat in, even though I'm pushing a lot of the air through, and it goes in one side, out the other, and it's supposed to. That window not open? That's probably why. The window's not open. Oh well. So I don't know. The thing that got me going about it was when I saw that missing number, 31. Right? You see that, and it's like, wait, so if I can only have one of every number, even though 16 and 15 make 31, that number doesn't exist, so I have to make an empty space there. And that threw me for a loop, and I was wondering the ratio of those numbers, because like the ratio of the numbers that exist and the value, like let's say you have the total, let's say you do the total set and you do up to 1,000 numbers, right? Calculate it, basic addition, it's easy to do. I got up to 100. I was very bored. I was very simple. I did not have a lot of effort I wanted to put into this. It was just a little hobby. But I was like, okay, how many empty spaces are there going to be in this thing? So as you can tell, right now I'm up to 30 or whatever. So like all the numbers up to 30, and currently the only number that's missing is 31. So then I go to the other page and I'm like, is there other numbers missing? And it's like, okay, what is the next number that's actually missing from any of this? 77? I don't know if I trust that. AR 95? Where's 95? When did I get oh, there's 95. 95 is 26 and 24 and 22 and 23 put together. So 50 and 45. But then 95 shows up again as 47 and 48. That makes sense. So there's this other number, instead of just 31, now there's a second number that's missing, and I don't know why there's an empty number there. There's some weird. This. How do I get 97? Why is it an alternate reality number? $49 is negated. Why? Where is 49? Why would 49 be negated? Oh, it's up there. Okay, so every number that shows up as that is a negated number, so it normally would, but then I don't even understand the process that my mind went, but at least I made notes. I made a lot of notes. And I was like, okay, well, 75 is also missing because it was already found somewhere else. You get into like 934 and stuff. And it's hard because you have to do a self-check and be like, okay, well, these numbers been seen before, and you have to cross-reference all the numbers and be like, have I done that yet? I haven't done a lot of the alternate reality nonsense and the negative mass nonsense because, and I forget why, because some of it's like, yeah, it's like a negative number is there, so it was taken from the negative, so you can't use it again for something. I don't know. But it's like these are the ramblings of, it's something I worked on at some point. When I made this document, I actually started using the sums, but I don't have a system for checking if a number's been used already. So like the number 190, I gotta remember later on that 190 it can't be used again. And 45 and 36 and 25. So 25 is a 0 over there. And I don't understand my notations even for the more recent iteration of number pyramid. So if you're working on if you're working on math theory or whatever stuff, don't worry about why is it so over here. I don't understand. But anyhow, all of this to say that I did work on this. And it's interesting, it starts looking like a ruler, but you see like these random gaps. And then the 1615 is a big gap. And then it's usually periodic, and then it has more gaps. In this page, you can't, there's more numbers that, like, there's a 2 there. Okay, so there's a negative number, so you don't have that. But then, like, there are 2 missing numbers there because they're on the second level. 13 is on the second level, 12 is on the third level. So they're both missing from the first level. So you can't use them, so you use 11 and 14 to make 25. And there's no significance of this. It's just a random thing. I'll talk to you later.